Nandana Jaya Vraja Janarandana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janarandana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janarandana Jamuna Tiravanachare Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava 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 Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakachaja Stota Sata Shri Srimad Chaitanya Goswami's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, the devotees, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We're in the 5th canto, chapter 19, a description of the island of Jambudvip, text number 20. And it's a prose verse, so I will just read it, and then we can go through the word by word together. Yosau Bhagavati Sarvabhutatmani Anatmye Nirukte Nilayane Paramatmani Vasudeve Nanya Nimitta Bhakti Yoga Lakshano Nanagati Nimittad Vidya Grantirandana Dvarina Yada Himaha Purusha Purusha Prasangaha. Word by word translation. Yaha, anyone who, Asau, that, Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvabhutatmani, the super soul of all living entities, Anatmye, having no attachment, Anirukte, who is beyond the mind and speech, Anilayane, not dependent on anything else, Paramatmani, unto the Supreme Soul, Vasudeva, Lord Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, Ananya, without any other, Nimitta, cause, Bhakti Yoga Lakshana, having symptoms of pure devotional service, Nanagati, of varied destinations, Nimitta, the cause, Avidya Granti, the bondage of ignorance, Randhana, of cutting, Dvarena, by means, Yada, when, he, indeed, Mahapurusha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purusha, with the devotee, Prasangaha, an intimate relationship. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then, one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and independent of everything else. That Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. Purport. Brahman realization is the beginning of liberation, and Paramatma realization is still further advancement toward the realm of liberation. But one achieves real liberation when he understands his position as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Muktirhi tvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi Srimad Bhagavatam 2.10.6. In the material world, in the bodily concept of life, everyone is working in the wrong direction. When one becomes Brahmabhuta, Srimad Bhagavatam 4.30.20, spiritually realized, one understands that he is not the body and that the working in the bodily concept of life is useless and misdirected. Then his devotional service begins, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.54. 54.
Not my level.
Yeah, it's your level because it's Brahmabhuta.
Yeah? Brahmabhuta.
Brahmabhuta prasannatma.
You know.
Kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu matbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Devotional service is actual liberation. When one is attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his mind is always engaged at the Lord's lotus feet, he is no longer interested in subjects that do not help him in self-realization. In other words, he loses all attraction for material activities. In the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7 it is said, Esha hi evanandayati yada hi evaishaya tasmin nadrishye natmye anirukte nilayane bhayam pratishtam vindateta so bhayam gato bhavati. A living entity becomes established in spiritual, blissful life when he fully understands that his happiness depends on spiritual self-realization, which is the basic principle of ananda, bliss, and when he is eternally situated in the service of the Lord, who has no other Lord above him. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Shivaram Swaminiti Namine. Once more the verse. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of varied fruitive activities. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and independent of everything else. That Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. Hare Krishna. So let us get into this, another nectar verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday we heard a little bit about many things, about the gunas and about the varnashram dharma. And now today we hear about the actual path of liberation. And Prabhupada is interesting that he adds a lot of translation where there is actually nothing in the Sanskrit like that. The whole first two sentences basically, or at least the first one. After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. That's not really there in the verse. So he just adds that as an introduction to this translation. And I don't know, maybe you're reminded of another verse when you hear this. What kind of verse comes to mind? After many, many births, when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. You have? Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to think in this way, no? To think in verses. Because Prabhupada very much does this also. If you go into the purport, you can see Prabhupada, he thinks, okay, this verse, and then this verse leads him to another verse. And in this way, the Shastra becomes very much alive, and you can, make all the connections and understand the philosophy very deeply. So one that comes to mind, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So that one, after many, many lifetimes, when one gets real knowledge, then this Mahatma, this great soul, understands that Vasudeva is everything. And then he surrenders unto him. But another one is, because it says here, after many births, one gets the opportunity to associate with pure devotees. What comes to my mind was from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahman de Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Beach. This one, and there, I don't know who's speaking. I think it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Sanatana Goswami, or it's in the 19th chapter, I believe, Madhya Lila. And there it is said that, Brahman de Brahmite, Konya Bhagavan Jeev. So the spirit soul has been Brahmite, has been going up and down the Brahmanda, the transcendental, or not the transcendental, the material egg-shaped form of the universe. It's going up the planetary systems and then coming down again, and like this merry-go-round. But then, Konya Bhagavan Jeev, he's becoming fortunate when he comes in contact, by the mercy of Krishna, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai. By the mercy of Krishna, he gets Guru Prasad. He gets the association with the Guru, with the spiritual master, and the spiritual master gives him the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of pure devotional service. So that's a very fortunate position. And here it is explained that that's actually the results of one's pious activities, Prabhupada says. So we can understand, we come to devotional service by pious activities? Or how do we come to devotional service? What would you say?
Mercy of devotees.
Mercy of devotees?
Guru Krishna, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna.
By the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So not by our own activities. yeah, no, this is the correct understanding is that it's not that, we can really do something to get bhakti. And that's a very important understanding, very important factor to consider, because in the material world we very much have this rational way of thinking, this mechanical way of understanding the world. If I do A, then I get B. If I work 8 hours, then I get so much money. And if I do this for a month, I have in the end so much money. You go like this. And in this way you very much come into this consciousness of I am the doer. I do this, therefore I deserve this. But with devotional life, it's not like that.
But I listen that it's our experience too, because we have in material world this back with Agyata Sukriti, and when you do your back with Agyata Sukriti full, God give you options that you have this experience with Bhakti Sukriti. And if I do all things good, it's as machine. If my back with Agyata Sukriti is full, God must give me this experience.
That's the question. Does he must? Does he have to or not? Must. And that's the interesting point, yeah. So there is a relation, of course, between our pious activities and our affinity or ability to practice bhakti. And so that's what I wanted to speak a little bit about. First of all, what is sukriti? Yeah, sukriti, piety, we translate it. Literally it means su means good, kriti to do. No? So having done something good, that's sukriti. So in a just material understanding, sukriti would mean you dig wells in Africa so people can get access to water, or you feed people on the street, you build a hospital for people. So that's material sukriti. You do something good on the material plane, and because of this, that will give you good karma, right? But then there is also spiritual piety, which then we call either Agyata Sukriti or Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti is another term. So Bhakti Unmukhi means to turn your face, Mukha means the face, Unmukhi towards Bhakti. You perform good deeds that make you turn your face toward Bhakti. For example, is that, you're not a devotee, but you like the devotees. So when you see them on the street, you always wave at them. You give them maybe some donation, but you don't have really understanding what this is about. So that's Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. That's very, very powerful to go into the direction of receiving real bhakti. And also materials piety can lead towards spiritual piety, but it doesn't have to. And that's an important point. So if we materially pious, living a good life, very sattvic, and then we also do pious things like we give donations to the poor and this and that, that will help us become more purified, but it doesn't, and that's the point, that's where this is a subtle point, but we can never force bhakti to come into our life, because bhakti is totally independent. Bhakti Shakti is like Krishna, the same tattva. So that means it's fully independent. Krishna, he can do and not do whatever he wants. So he can appear, but he can also not appear however he wants. And in that sense, Sukriti, real Sukriti, is only Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, that which helps us to come closer to devotional service. Jiva Goswami defines it in Bhakti Tattva Viveka as activities that are connected to transcendental personalities and then that give rise to an intense desire to perform devotional service, are called Sukriti. So like that. These activities that are connected to transcendental personalities, that's one thing. But then it also has to give rise to an intense desire to perform devotional service. Then we speak of Sukriti, of Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. And so, the question is, of course, then how, okay, so Prabhupada says here that when the results of one's pious activities mature, one gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. So that's actually what happens. If you perform Sukriti, you will get in contact with the devotees. Doesn't mean you get bhakti immediately, but by associating with devotees, and that's what is explained afterwards, naturally it rubs off this association, and you become interested more and more in devotional service. And it is said that there's 3 ways of how bhakti can manifest in somebody. It's either to the pure devotee, through Krishna himself, this is rather rare, or through the scripture. But generally speaking, it's through the pure devotees. And so what happens is that bhakti inspires compassion in a devotee, and thus the devotee shares it according to the adhikar and receptivity of the jivas. So the Bhakti Shakti, it inspires the pure devotees to give this Bhakti Shakti to others. That's how we can understand how it actually works. But then the pure devotees, they want to give it to everybody, inspired by the Shakti of Bhakti, by their compassion. And they try to do so, but they also cannot give it to everybody, which is an interesting point. Look at Srila Prabhupada. He came and he gave bhakti to countless living entities. At the same time, he couldn't force somebody to take to bhakti. And sometimes you could see he was quite frustrated about this, that people just wouldn't take it. The mercy is there, but how many are actually taking it? So the pure devotee, he carries bhakti, and out of his pure compassion, he wants to share it with everybody, but he can only share it to those who have a certain receptivity also, who are able to take it. So that's an interesting point also. And that's again where our pious credits come in. If we have enough pious credits, then we are able to take it. Also, Prabhupada said though, that once Prabhupada's disciples, they came to him and they told him, Srila Prabhupada, why are we actually practicing devotional service? Because none of us have, we've been eating meat, we've been doing so many drugs and so many bad things. So how are we even here? How is it possible? We're so impure. We have no pious credits. And what did Prabhupada say? I created your good credits. So that's the power of a pure devotee also. He can enable us, he can, totally destroy all the things that are taking us away from bhakti and put us, you can imagine when a child puts a cart on a cart, how you say, so an autobahn. So how are they called? You can drive cars on this. Yeah, but it's like for kids, they play with cars, and then they have tracks, and they can race against each other like this. So anyway, so the kid takes the car, and it's not working anything. There's no electricity, but once it puts it on the track, then it just goes, and it cannot get off the rails. Basically, it's like, it's fixed on the track. And so the pure devotee, he can take a soul that is totally in Maya, just take it and put it on the track.
Racetrack.
Huh?
Play
racetrack, yeah. And then instead of, going for the Maya rat race, he will go on the transcendental race of going closer to Krishna. And in that sense, once he's on that path, that's what is said also by Krishna. Neha bikramo nashosti pratayo navityate svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Any advancement that is made on this track is eternal, and sooner or later, this soul that is put on the racetrack to Krishna will reach Krishna. It might take many lifetimes, but by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, it can be done in one lifetime also. So, but the point being, the pure devotee could do that, but at the same time, in the reality we see, if the living entity has no inclination towards that, the free will is not directed towards going in that direction, then it will not happen. So two things have to be there. There's the compassion of the pure devotee, inspired by Bhakti Shakti to share Bhakti with everybody. But then there is the living entity, the conditioned, the Bada Jiva, who has to have a certain adhikar, qualification and openness towards bhakti to actually receive it. And this is explained also by Srila Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19:152 in the purport. Thus, the spiritual master trains his disciples to render devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Guru Kripa. It is Krishna Prasad, Krishna's mercy, that he sends a bona fide spiritual master to the deserving disciple. By the mercy of Krishna, one meets the bona fide spiritual master, and by the mercy of the spiritual master, the disciple is fully trained in the devotional service of the Lord. So, as it is said in the verse also, so one comes in contact with a pure devotee, and then the pure devotee, puts that person on track. And how does he put him on the track? He trains him in rendering devotional service. In the translation it is said, as a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva. So once he's on the track, then the spiritual master gives instructions on how this person can progress in spiritual life. And then it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27 purport, there's a strong need for the guidance of the Guru. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the transcendental plane of serving Krishna. So that's an interesting point, no? So okay, we're put on track. In one sense, now it's automatical, but in another sense, we need very careful guidance of our spiritual teachers, of the devotees. And that's what I find interesting, an interesting concept to understand here in this verse also, because Prabhupada is saying, or in the verse it says, that Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes a little bit into this. At what point can we actually perform devotional service? What is real liberation? So, generally speaking, we see liberation defined as mukti. That means we get out of this material world, and most people in India who have a concept of mukti, they think of becoming one, merging with everything. And that's liberation. That's the real becoming free of being in the material world. But as is quoted in Bhagavad Gita, what is liberation according to the Bhagavad Gita? It is Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochatina Kangshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mat Bhaktim Labhate Param. Is that one develops this Brahma Bhuta, is on the Brahma Bhuta platform. And therefore, he sees all living entities as one, all as living spiritual sparks. And when one is on that stage only, can one then, Mat Bhaktim Labhate Param, can one attain bhakti? So that's interesting if we think about this. So what does it mean to perform devotional service? As a prerequisite, you have to be liberated. You have to be free from all material designations. You have to see all living entity as equal. You do not hanker for what was in the past. You do not lament for what was in the past. You do not hanker for what is in the future. You're free of the material influences. So that's what is described in Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says here also, when one becomes Brahma Bhuta, spiritually realized, one understands that he is not the body, and that the working in the bodily concept of life is useless and misdirected. Devotional service is actual liberation. When one is attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his mind is always engaged at the Lord's lotus feet, he is no longer interested in subjects that do not help in self-realization. He loses all attraction for material activities. So that's Brahmabhuta stage, is when you lose attraction for all material activities, is that you realize that you're not this body, you're the soul, and that only spiritual activities are actually what you want to do in life. So it's a very high stage, you know. Who of us can say that he realized that he's a spiritual soul? Prabhupada again and again made this point. Why? Because he knew only from that stage of realizing that we're not this body can we actually really perform devotional service. Start our devotional service. So that's the interesting point, right? And therefore we have to understand we're not actually doing devotional service. What we do here in the temple, we worship the deities, we sing for the deities, it's not devotional service. It can be pure devotional service, but it's devotional service in practice. It's like we're practicing to be devotees, right? Yeah, you can say it's like kids, you know, and you know, they want to become a cop, a policeman one day. So they put on the uniform, and in the house, you know, they go into the parents and they hold a stop sign. Hey, you cannot walk here. The street is not, now you have to wait. Like this. So they're practicing in one sense. They're playing to become policemen. That's their dream. So in a similar way, we, like devotees in the temple and in general, 90%, I mean, most of us, there might be others, we're practicing sadhana bhakti. We're practicing devotional service. We're practicing the same activities that the liberated souls, the Nitya Siddhas, are doing in the spiritual world. But we here are only practicing that. And it's an interesting, you know, conception first to understand this. Prabhupada, at some other points, we also hear Prabhupada speak about we are all pure, all devotees in ISKCON are pure devotees, right? We heard that in the Sankirtan festival also. There's this famous story, Prabhupada in the beginning of the movement. He's with a reporter and somebody asks him, so, okay, Swami, how many, except from you, how many pure devotees are there in your movement? And Prabhupada turns around to his disciples, how many disciples we got? How many disciples I have? And he said, I don't know, 1,000. And Prabhupada said, that's how many pure devotees are there in our movement. So it's an interesting point. So even though, and now this is, you know, how to understand this. So even though we're not, at least me, liberated, we're not realized, we're not at Brahmabhuta level, and we're not, therefore, devotees in one sense, but practicing devotees, still, Prabhupada calls us pure devotees. How is that going? How is that coming together? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Prabhupada sees all the time the future. Once he was asked also by the fourth person, look, you present, you have, he told you, I see the temple and this and that. He was aware also of the future.
So you mean when he said, or what do you
In a sense, he sees, yes, whatever, at least soon they will become pure.
Soon they will become pure devotees.
This is like almost complete.
Yeah. Yes. So Shiva Maharaj, actually, I'm not sure what is exactly the source, but in Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani and also in several lectures he has mentioned this, that there is different types of pure devotees, 3 types of pure devotees. And 2 of them are the pure devotees by adhikar, and 1 of them is pure devotee by attainment. It's a very interesting concept, no? So we say, for example, an Uttama Bhakta, and we speak also of Uttama Adhikari. So the Uttama Bhakta is that devotee that has fully realized Krishna, and we can say with both feet in the spiritual world. He has attained at least the stage of bhava, Prema is another topic, but at least bhava, which is just the budding before prema. So prema is just a question of time. Anyway, he has attained this stage. But then there's the Uttama Adhikari. And he has the qualification to become an Uttama Bhakta, to realize Krishna and become Premi Bhakta. But he's not yet attained that stage. He just has the qualifications. And so similarly, the pure devotee that has not attained bhava, he has the qualification to get there. And so what is explained, I think it's based on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings. Shri Shri Jagannapadev Subhadra Devi ki jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. So one other pure devotee, and that's the basics, the first type of pure devotee, is that he has the intention to become a pure devotee, and he's sincerely trying to get rid of anya bilash, of all other desires than pure devotional service. And he's therefore on the stage of anartha nivritti. And so even at the stage of anartha nivritti, where most of us are, we can be called pure devotees if, and that's the big if, we sincerely want to get rid of all other desires in the heart and to really become, to just serve Krishna. Then we can be called a pure devotee also. And then the one stage higher pure devotee, and that's already then somebody basically who is almost at Brahmabhuta level, I'd say, or maybe is already at Brahmabhuta level, is one who has pure faith and also has overcome most of his anarthas, or a big deal, which is to speak, he's at the platform of Nishta. And in that sense, he's what we always say, Nasta Prayeshu Bhatreshu, at this stage where most of the inauspicious things in the heart have been cut out. So these type of three different pure devotees are explained in the writings of the Acharyas. One who has attained Ruchi or Bhava, and then one who is at the stage of Nishta and has pure faith. And then the third one, the one who is at Anartha Nivritti but is sincerely trying to get rid of his anarthas. Yes?
So the topmost is the Uttama Bhakta and on the platform of Nishta, the Uttama Adhikari.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, that's a good conclusion. I don't know, I couldn't refer to, but that makes sense, yeah. He has the Adhikar then to progress in the direction of Uttama.
Because he has overcome all the anarthas mostly.
Right.
Vishnu, so good people.
Right. So the track is free. Yeah. So, in that sense, yeah, it's the example of the green mango that Premachandra Prabhu mentioned, you know. So the mango, it's hanging on the tree, it's green, so it's not yet possible to eat it. But at the same time, if we just leave it there by the influence of the surroundings, by the sun, it will get ripe and eventually be very, very juicy mango. So similarly, the devotee can be just a beginner devotee, neophyte in one sense, Kanishta Adhikari, and that's the main point. If he has the correct Bhakti Lata Bij, and if he gets the correct nurturing from his environment, he can and will in time progress towards Uttama Bhakti. And so therefore at this stage, it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's a very beautiful verse, I don't know it by heart, but it is said that for Bhakti to awaken in somebody, the association of pure devotees or Uttama Bhaktas, and now we have to be more specific, so the Uttama Bhaktas is essential. But even after one has awakened bhakti and is practicing bhakti, the association of pure devotees, Uttama Bhaktas, is still essential. So on all steps, that is to say, of developing in our spiritual life, we need the association of pure devotees. And that's what is the topic here in this verse also. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva. And that Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, is the real path of liberation. So you can say there's different standards of liberation. One is that mukti is the understanding of Brahman, and in that sense becoming one with that Brahman. And then next stage of liberation is to understand Paramatma, and eventually is to understand that we are a servant of Krishna in his personal feature. And when one is on that path towards understanding Krishna as a person, that's the path of real liberation. And therefore, as we said, we need the guidance of these pure devotees. So how do we get that guidance? What's the actual mercy of the Guru? We heard before, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. The Bhakti Lata is given, beach, the seed of pure devotional service. But then, what does that actually mean? It is described, Prabhupada says, the knowledge and the faith that these pure devotees give us, that's their mercy. And in another, Devaki Machi, I think, really nicely put it also that, in general, how do we know that we get the mercy of our senior devotees? Is that they are interested in our spiritual lives and that we advance in our spiritual life. I found that a very nice kind of, understanding, because we say, yeah, okay, give me your mercy, I want mercy, this mercy, that mercy, but what is mercy? How do we know that we get the mercy of seniors? Is that they care about us, not only, let's say, on a material level, but more so on a spiritual level that we can develop in our spiritual life. And therefore it is also said, Mahat Sevam Dvara Mahur Vimuktes, Tamo Dvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangitam. And then, Mahantas Te Shamachita Prashanta. And the last one doesn't come to mind. But the point there is said that the doors to liberation, and here we speak of the real liberation, is the service to the Mahants, to the great souls. Whereas the doors towards hell are wide open for those persons who associate with Yoshitam Sangi, those who are attached to sense enjoyment, let's say. So we have to make this choice. Where do we plug in? And if we plug into this service to the pure devotees, then the Uttama Bhaktas, we can be sure that we're on the correct path. And that's where we have to develop this sincerity to really question ourselves. How much am I really trying to overcome my anarthas? How much am I really trying to perform pure devotional service free from any other abhilas, from any other desires? And yeah, I just was thinking of some examples in my life, and I was thinking back on the marathon that we just had, Christmas marathon, which is always, for a book distributor, is like the test of the year, right? After 1 year, you have the previous marathon, then you have the next marathon. For 1 month, you put out everything else, put away whatever you do, and just focus on that one activity. And therefore, it's a strong meditation focus. And you can really see, where is my consciousness? If I just can do, there's no distractions, I have no kind of excuses why I should not think about Krishna. Or sometimes there's so many reasons why we should have to do this in material world, do something. But for this month, it's just like one point attention, focus. So it's a very good test for where is your consciousness going. And for me, this marathon was really special in many regards, but one was that what I really, again, realized is how important are the blessings of the senior Vaishnavas, of those that are, practicing for a long time, that are very, very pure, and that therefore can give us so much inspiration, but more tangible, they can give us real results also in our activities and in our practice of Krishna consciousness. Now in terms of book distribution, to distribute more books. And how did I realize that? Well, the active principle of Krishna consciousness is to to satisfy the spiritual master, right? It is Prabhupada says. If we satisfy the spiritual master, Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasado, then Krishna is pleased also. So if we manage to do that, everything else will fall in line. And we can understand also that we satisfy the spiritual master, but also his representatives. That means our authorities on a temple level, on an institutional level, they're all kind of angas of the spiritual masters. And so one instruction this marathon, one authority that I was able to please, I hope, a little bit, was Bhakti Alabhya Prabhu when he said that we should come here to meet Trai Prabhu. During the marathon, Trai Prabhu came here, the Minister of Book Distribution for Europe. He gave a class on Sunday, and then Monday we went out to do books together. But in the beginning I was a little hesitant, we have our marathon route, we want to come to the temple as little as possible, because if you come to the temple, so many distractions, this and that. So I was like, I don't know, Prabhu, if I want to come. And he said, no, just do it will be good for you, and like this. And I had to really, because I already made my plan, everything was arranged, where we're going to stay, this. And so it required some surrender. But then I did it, and we met Trai Prabhu, and we went out with him, and he was really, really nice, and we got so much association and so much mercy now. Because then Trai Prabhu, he said, okay, let's keep in touch. Every day, send me your scores, what you did on the streets. And so we did that. Every evening, I sent a little message. This is what happened. This is how many books, and like that, who we met. And Trai Prabhu was super happy, and was super fired up, and giving us every day 3-4 minutes voice messages. Yeah, if you do like this, you could do more. Or if you try that. And this way it was like super inspiring, to know that there's a Prabhupada disciple who has been practicing for 50 years, who was there when book distribution really exploded, who was one of the pioneers of this ISKCON movement. So dear to Prabhupada, received several letters for Prabhupada, personal instructions. Now he is taking interest in me, in us. and so he continuously pushed us and, inspired us. And he also said that, okay, now you've done 100 books, so now aim for 150. And I was thinking, how is that, how should I do it? Okay, I will try, but, it's not really realistic like that. But that combined also with instructions from a spiritual master, so it's a long story to go into all of that, but you could just feel, the mercy is building up, like, you feel that, wow, this is going somewhere. And these kind of moments, they bring us out of the mental platform when we kind of make our limitations. Oh, I cannot do this, it's not really possible. But then these personalities, they give us a bigger picture, and we understand, yeah, actually, why not? And by constantly associating with them, it rubs off, and the mind just retreats somewhere, and you can actually do it. And that's what happened the last day also, that so many books went out, and, it's a really mystical experience when you're in book distribution, and after some hours you look and it's like so many books have gone, and you're like, where have they gone? Who was here to take these books, right? I didn't even meet so many people as how many books went out. And like that, you can really see how the mercy is given to you. It's not that you are doing this, it's not that you have this merit or the strength to do it, but Krishna, through these devotees, gives you all the mercy. And that's a very powerful experience. And this is how we can see that if we try to follow the instructions and the guidance of our spiritual teachers, of our seniors, of the pure devotees more advanced than us, we automatically also, make advancement, if we want it or not, in one sense. If we just try, follow their instructions, then it has to happen in that sense. So that was one little example. And one other thing I want to just mention is this, Prabhupada says here that where was it? Oh yeah. When one is attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind is always engaged at the Lord's lotus feet. That's the goal, right? That we are always engaged at the service of the Lord's lotus feet. That means 24 hours, it is said in Nectar of Instruction, the essence of all advice. Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi nyoja. Tishtan Vraje tad anunami jananugami akilam akilang sarvakila ityupadesha saram. So anyway, the essence of all advice is that one should engage in devotional service 24 hours a day and mentally reside in Raj, if not physically, following in the footsteps of the Rajvasis. So we should try to always engage ourselves 24 hours a day, and you think, how is it possible? We have to sleep, we have to do this and then. But during marathon, during this time, it happened to me that it was just a constant absorption, so much so that, the mind always engaged in book distribution. I never had this experience before, but it was really interesting. Like I was sleeping at night, but in the morning I wake up and I remember, all the dreams that I had, and several of them were about book distribution. So even in the night, it's continuing. And one day I was like, chanting and then reading a little bit. And what is also there's some transcendental tiredness in marathon after some time, So I was reading and I doze away, like few seconds. Immediately book distribution came on my mind, I was seeing myself distributing books and I was like, woke up and I was, what's happening, It's just a constant absorption. It's so beautiful and it's so enlivening. You feel like, you're always in this fire of serving Krishna. It was really a nice experience. I couldn't always have it, but for some time, for a few days, it was like this. And I was like, wow, amazing. Yes?
I have little questions. so questions. I have very more questions.
Very more.
Very special class, thank you very much. Because I have very, very more questions and I cannot all time only handing up and stop. I have questions because you must answer. My question is, what is the better? Distribute 1,000 book today or distribute one book for person who tomorrow come to temple and start his devotional service?
Quality or quantity? It's always the question. What is better, quality or quantity? But best is both, always, to have both.
Because my understanding is that maybe it's not good understanding, but sometimes we see more how many, but no see on person.
The results. Yeah, it's a good point. A valid question. I think, again, a good preacher doesn't only distribute books, but he also takes care of the people he preaches to, right? He gives the books to. At the same time, in a time like marathon especially, in my understanding, it's about just sharing as much transcendental literature as we can. Get the mercy out there, and then the books will have their own influence on people. But in general, it is true, and that's also something that every book distributor has to figure out for himself. And I think a more advanced book distributor will go more in this direction automatically, that he will take more time, quality time, to speak with someone that he thinks is really ready. But there's some devotees, they just distribute books, they're not very, let's say, very good or inspired to, invest so much time with people, for example. So then it's, it depends a little bit on the person also. So it's not either or is better or worse. It's just, according to time, place, circumstance.
Because I see last 5 years maybe more that we distribute to 10,000, next year 15,000, 20,000 books, distribution more and more and more, but people come to temple
Not more, less.
more. Like
Less.
in other street, and it's, in my mind it's little.
Yeah, again, we also have to understand that this is not a material calculation. We were just speaking about this. Bhakti Shakti is independent, Krishna is independent, so therefore also these books are independent, and the people have to have a certain sukriti to understand it, and that's also going down in this age of Kali, the further we get. Every year we can see that practically. So.
That now all demigods wait that be born in
Yeah. Actually, that's gonna be described
And
soon.
these moments, if you understand all these moments, you understand. Oh, something not working good. I understand.
And
also.
what do you mean?
That's we know that's now time when gold time in Kali Yuga.
Mhm.
God give knowledge for all people, and all demigods wait only that be born
Mhm.
in our planets because only one life and you can come back to Godhead. But I see in Europe that all temples have only maybe some person come, maybe one or two pujari come to temple,
Mhm.
maybe some brahmachari, and we have no young blood as vampire because I have very big inspiration when I come to Minsk temple. 10 young brahmachari come to temple in 1 year.
Mm.
10% and they not working, they now go to university, come to Krishna temple and do
Mhm.
service. And
Yeah.
they're very nice person.
Mm.
And I see other kinds of this process what we do in every day or all time. We have two Harinama group in Belarus who do book distribution, 10%.
Yeah, very nice.
Full mouths, it's
Yeah.
very
I think it's also different according to the place that we are in, you know. And in
I
the
speak
east,
only that we
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
think about
Yeah, it's a bigger
these,
discussion.
things. And I have little question for that Nishtra level that you have not anartha. It's
Almost.
Mm.
Finish.
Nasta praishu, abatrishu.
Means actually up to Baba or in Prema there is some anartha still there. If we have darshan of Krishna directly, then everything finished.
Oh, Krishna.
Till that time, some anartha still there. But Anishta means almost finished, almost complete.
We say how many percent? But there's some general kind of no.
The thing is there is different kind of anarthas which have different causes,
Mm.
and only the anarthas that coming from Vaishnava Parad they remain.
Mm.
Other anarthas are finished. But if you do some Vaishnava Parad, then there's something is left.
Mm.
But basically Nishta means you're very good devotee. Very pure, it's only a little bit study.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just I want to, ask the senior devotees to correct me. Maybe some things were not so on point. You can tell.
Very nice class.
Okay, I think we can stop here. And we can discuss more later on. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanand.
seen anywhere else.
So many interesting things here. Probably in Alta. So many interesting
Interesting things.
roads.
Also, Easter mostly every week, every Monday, East Coast. Never seen that. Maybe some in Australia, on Easter Coast, we have every 6 months.
Никита Волос, что
Basel, Bern, Geneva.
It's small. In Kiev, it's 4 million.
And how far from Kiev is your town?
19 kilometers.
19.
90
90.
kilometers. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not maybe 1 hour with a car.
Yeah.
It's also a small temple. Yeah, it's also good. Different cities. Ukraine have like maybe not big temple, small temple. So many Namahata in Kiev. I don't know now for 3 years. 100 Namahat. Yes.
Kiev.
Yes. It's a Gihasta.
Indians as well?
Not so many Indians. It's a very not so many Indians. Sometimes it's common temples, but not like here.
But mainly Ukrainians.
Yeah, it's nice. Indulgence Swami gives nice mood for care for the devotee. Chaitanya Prabhu, GBC was again who created this temple, he supported this life all the time, care for the devotee. So many programs, special care with this Namahata also. Some program meeting to the guest, the guest come have special department who meet guests, talk with guests, give present, number, brahmachari. Also do this. It's after next week you call this person, how are you, he is home, and yes, and people come home, and stay. Also, I'm also stay like this. I go to the program. It's like I have free time and I practice so many. Number 1 month practice. Go to the Sunday program. Stay for Sunday program. Also we give like, all guests write like small paper about who I am, my hobbies, my few words. And after devotee sent the microphone. Oh, today we have this guest, first time in the temple, he like, for example, dancing, music, this thing. It gives blessing for him. All devotee Haribo, and gives girland, and spit small sweets. And this, I'm also practice. And after program, I'm trying to go to the home. And one brahmachari catch me. Oh, you're nice, young man. What do you do tomorrow? You know, I can walk. Tomorrow, nice party, Gordhana Puja. Please come tomorrow for the evening. Okay, I said, okay, I can see. And I write for where I work, the creation. Said, listen, tomorrow with 3 days. You can go to the temple and then stay all day. The temple, like service, also prepare for prasada, like potato, clean, and after this program, it's Monday, and the program is not like Sunday program. Monday is a little bit late. Like Grihastha is coming after work. It will start for the 6 o'clock and finish for the 10. And after also ask for the after Sunday feast, ask who want help from cleaning the kitchen, cleaning temple. And also the what you take. Yes, I'm also saying I help. And I'm going to clean the pots together with Brahmachari. And clean so many times, clean and talk. And I had a nice experience. And after MC for the clock, wow, 1 hour for the night. It's not possible coming from home. I live not this. I live different city. I don't know. And he said, okay, sleep to the temple. And I not come back to the home. I'm staying in the temple. 6 years. I'm staying in this temple. I'm not come back to the home. Only maybe after 1 week, I'm come back to the home. Take my bag and say my father, okay, bye. I'm going to the temple. Yeah.
And your father?
He not understand firstly, really. No, like, no, I want to learn. I'm really like hippie. Little different before, yeah. I was traveling, a lot of time, I not back to the home. Then this time I say, okay, I go to the temple.
Wow.
Yeah, it's more like caring and devotee. Like you want to stay and make service and stay longer for the temple. Yeah, that's nice. Beautiful.
Let's take prashad.
Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada everywhere same. It's like home spot.
Yes.
It's the same Murti.
Yes, yes. Let me see if I can put this clock.
And Krishna try. I don't know why he not put. Maybe now.
Let me see.
Maybe you have different anime.
Can you hold it? One second.
You don't need to make second column.
It's a little bit.
Smaller, yeah. It's like his Uber station.
Voila. Yeah, we have to
More big.
take out this one a little bit. Push out, otherwise it will fall off.